I forget. Perfect. And I am going to keep an eye out for anyone else that wants to join in. Give me 1 second here. All right, we are all set. Okay, yay, we got it. Okay, so welcome to your holistic guidance. And the holistic guidance is where we have monthly themes and where I can support you to get your mind, body, and spirit naturally healthy and spiritually aligned during the midlife years. So for those of you that are new to me, welcome. I am a certified naturopath and light leader, and I am a holistic life coach. And I love supporting heart-centered women who are in midlife and who wish to experience blissful health and a deep soul connection so they can feel calm and empowered, healthy and strong, and confident and abundant. And this month, our theme is all around energy for the midlife woman. So we start off the month, I'm so excited, with a powerful look into a subject that touches all of us. We're going to be talking about energy and the abundance mindset. If you have ever wondered how to manifest more money and how to sustain the energy around money, you're in the right place. My beautiful friend Kavita Melwani has graciously agreed to join us for this holistic guidance to share how we can heal our relationship to money and in turn increase our energy and abundance. Now, Kavita and I met through a mastermind, and I just loved her energy right away. And you'll be able to witness exactly what I mean in just a few minutes. Now, Kavita coaches high achieving women of color to lead with their inner wisdom. She's an intuitive leadership coach, a hypnotherapist, and a Reiki master. She's also has an amazing podcast, the Aligned and Soulful Leadership podcast. And we actually did an episode together, and that'll be coming out. I think it's released on November 15th. So make sure that you check it out. I'm going to put links for you so you can check that out for sure. Now, Kavita, I love how you support empath women in midlife to be authentic and how you help them step into their leadership. I know I've already introduced you, but I would really love to hear more about you, and I'd love for you to share with our audience. So take a moment, introduce yourself, where you live, what you do, and why you're so passionate about your business.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Isabelle.
Yeah.
I also loved your energy when we met. So at the mastermind, and of course met after. So I'm looking forward to the podcast interview being released and people getting to hear your wisdom. So yeah. So a little bit more, you gave most of what I wanted to say, but I want to add that I'm also a first generation immigrant. And so that I really recently stepped into serving women of color because people were coming to me anyway. Those women were coming to me. And I think it's even more important now. The reason I'm passionate, because I know it's even more important now for women and women of color to step and rise up into their leadership and to stop their, hiding their voice and, just following the rules that they were told and all the things said they could do, right?
Yes.
And what they could and what they were allowed to do.
Yes.
Right. And so that is done. The doors are being opened for us. And so that's why I'm passionate about helping these women now learn the skills, be confident, to be able to step into their purpose, be confident in themselves, their self-worth, less people pleasing, all the things, right, that hold us back. So
like, I wanted to ask you, what do women receive by working with you? But I mean, it's oozing out of you, the the love that you have for the women that you work with. But I'd love, like, if you want to add a few things.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so definitely more confidence in themselves, better boundaries in
Mm,
relationships, because that's usually one of the main things. People come and they say, I want to change my career. I want a different career. And it turns out that they're burnt out in their current career
yeah.
because they're just giving all the time. And I think that's very common for the women in general,
Yes.
right? And then women in color tend to have these cultural norms on top of them, that what's accepted and what they can do. So working through that and opening those doors. So they tend to be more confident, have better relationships, and really feel more purposeful, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we all want, to feel more
Yes.
purposeful every day? So.
Every day. I love that, Kavita. So what you have lined up for us today, is that an example of how you support women?
Yeah, so it is a little bit of what I do, right? Money tends to be, abundance tends to be one of the things that first we don't like to talk about as women, most women.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very taboo for women of a lot of women of color, especially if they're first, second generation immigrants, to talk about money. We just
Mhm.
don't. It's not
Yes.
allowed, right?
Oh,
And it's a conversation that needs to happen.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I love that. I love what you're bringing. I love what you're sharing, Kavita. And I know these women are going to love these teachings. So if you're ready, let's
Yes.
dive in. Let's start.
Okay, great. Yes.
Oh, wait a
Again,
sec.
uh-huh.
Before, just in case, because I know some women are not
Mhm.
going to be able to stay till the end. So if these women wanted to work with you, I'd love to put some links up there.
Mhm.
Maybe while I do that, you could just tell us if one of us wanted to work with you and reach out to you. What's a
Mhm.
good way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so if they're ready to actually work with me, then I do have a 30-minute call that I can
Okay.
talk, it's a leadership call. And the best way to stay in touch with me is my newsletter, which goes out every week. And I have a free gift that goes really well with what we're talking about today. It's an abundance visualization and an exercise that comes with that as well.
Perfect.
So, and I use my hypnotherapy background in that. So, yeah.
Perfect. I love it. I'm sorry I cut you off. It's just
Oh,
because
no.
I know some women are here and they told me they couldn't stay to the end. So I wanted them to have access to that before you jump into the teaching. So
Oh,
I,
that's great. Yes.
perfect. All right. So lovely ladies, if you're all ready, grab your journal, grab something healthy to drink. We are diving in. The floor's all yours, Kavita.
All right, great. Okay, so I love teaching about this because, like I said earlier, most of us don't talk about it. We don't talk about money. I see that there's more and more conversation about that happening. Yeah, so which is good. I like that that's happening more and more. Um, so when people talk about, and I use the word money or abundance, if you're listening to this recording or you're live, I want you to just take a moment and see what comes up for you when you hear that word, when you just hear me talking about it, when when you see it in around you, what's the feelings that come up for you? Right. And so really pay attention to that, because we're going to use that later on. Okay. Because money is an inner game first. Everything is an inner game first, right? And so we put the value on money. And because we learn through stories, I'm going to tell you, all of you, a quick story about my little bit about my journey with money and what I've had to work through. So I came, like I said, I was a first generation immigrant, and my parents, unlike a lot of immigrants of Indian descent, like I'm officially from India, right? Um, they're not educated. So they came to this country and they were not educated. And so they had to struggle. And so for many years, I remember my parents struggling. I'm the oldest child, and I would see them struggling to make it in the American dream, right? so they had their businesses, and they finally had a business, a jewelry business that became successful. But really, until I was about 13 or 14 years old, I saw that struggle. So that started to go into my subconscious, right? So I'm going to pause the story now. And I want to see for all of you, I want you to take a moment and think about your childhood. Think about what was happening those first few years in your household. What were your parents, if you had both parents, what was happening in your household with money and abundance? Okay. So what I just shared was the struggle, right? So that is part of my subconscious programming that that I've had to work through, and it still rises up, right? So, when we're working on something, I describe it as a spiral, and I learned this from someone. I can't remember who, but I'm not going to take credit. So it's like a spiral, right? So we have these issues and challenges that we came to this life for, and we're going through one level of it. And then we're like, oh, I'm working on my abundance here. And then I'm doing so well. And then I come back to it again, but it's at the next level, right? Because we continue that moving up. So for that scarcity mindset that I grew up with, and I'm sure a lot of women have grown up with, that, there's always levels. So I've reached different levels of that I've had to work through. And so that's part of the story for me. So take a moment, if you have a piece of paper, and write down what it is for you. What are some things, maybe some highlights from your childhood time? Okay. So I can see the comments. We were struggling. Yes. Okay. Oh, good. That's good. So you had the basic needs met, it sounds like, and that, but then you realize now that you were poor, right? But you had your brother. So yeah, so I have two siblings. I'm the oldest. Okay. And I have a sister and a brother. And it's interesting how the three of us, even though we were in the same household, how we view money and abundance. So that doesn't mean that, that's exactly going to be the same, right, as what you experienced in your childhood. It's also the lens that goes through our own beliefs, right? We all have our lenses that we view the world through. So then, going back, and I'm going back to story so you can see what resonates for you and pull out from your story. Okay, because the subconscious mind takes our experiences from our childhood and tells us that's the way the world is. That is the truth. That is how the world works. And most of that happens, that programming is before, according to the training I've had, is around 7 or 8. Okay. And so think about that if you can remember a lot of that. We don't remember a lot of what happened before that time, right? So, so you go back, I went back around 13 or 14, my parents really started to make money. They started to make it in this world. And they finally built this beautiful house, and we moved into this house. And right before we moved into this house, a couple months before, our old house burned down. Okay. And so, of course, they all thought, well, this was on purpose, insurance and all that. No, it wasn't on purpose, right? So we lived in an apartment for a couple months till the new house was ready. But I thought that was really interesting now that I go back. At that time, I mean, I was 15 or so. It didn't mean anything, but now I go back to that and see how that's like the dissolving of the old and the new coming in. And there's so much purging with fire, right? So, so we move into this house, and my parents were excited, and they had this huge party. Okay. And so in this party, they invited as many people as they can. Now, this is Texas. I grew up in South Texas. So if you're in a place that, like right now, I didn't mention where I lived, Isabelle. I live in Northern California in the Bay Area right now. Okay. So this scale would not happen here. But so they had a huge house, like a 1.5 lot size. So in the backyard, they had tents. We had a big party. We had vendors coming and going. I was answering the door. So after the party, somebody that came to the door before came to the door. And so I opened the door. Well, it turned out these were 4 men that had guns. Okay. And they were there to to rob us, basically. Right.
Oh
And
my
so this, I can tell the story now. Before I would tell the story and I'd start crying and emotion, but I've worked through this, and the emotion of it is, I tell it because the emotion of it can activate something in the people that listen to it. And so
Yes.
that's why I'm not telling the story because I want you to feel sorry for me. Okay.
No.
So it's to activate the emotion. But I was 15 and I spoke Spanish. And unfortunately, these men didn't speak English, they spoke Spanish. And so I could communicate. So they took me around the house to try to find, jewelry, to find anything, money, whatever. We didn't have anything in the house because my parents had a jewelry store. Right.
Yes.
And so they kept everything in the store. They're not going to keep things at home. They have safes there at the store. And so I kept telling them, we don't have anything. Nothing is available in the house. And I could tell intuitively now that I had a connection to one of those men there. And I think say men now, but I think they were really young now that I look back, right? And I started telling him things in Spanish like, oh, how would your sister feel? How would you feel if someone did this to your sister? How would your mother feel if she knew that, that you were doing this, right? So all these things. And so that's where that's the first time I feel like I've truly channeled divine wisdom that came through me, because I was 15.
Right.
I mean, how did I come up with that stuff at 15, right? So anyway, that experience taught me it was not safe to have money. It was not safe to have money, right? Because if you have money, if you stand out, if you have these big celebrations and show your joy, my brain said that means that you're not safe. So it's not safe. So it got filed in my brain, right? As it's not safe to have money. So for all of you, what is that for you? Is it safe? Do you feel safe to have money? Now, it may not be something like that, or it could be something even more dramatic, right? But really look back and see for yourself what money in that moment, in those moments, especially in your childhood. Now I was 15, right? I do feel that fire was the purging of the old and then this bringing in, but then this was like, nope, money's not safe. And so then I take this all into the world, right? I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things, and I'm like, well, why aren't things flowing? I don't understand. I'm doing everything. And then, we all go in, not we all, but a lot of us compare, right? Yeah. So I'm like, so-and-so is doing this the same as me, and she or he is doing great. And why am I not? I don't understand, right? And so I get to that point many times, right? But different levels, like I shared with the spiral. So just, taking those moments and taking the story that I shared and asking yourself some questions about what were the things that your family of origin shared and said about money. Okay, so what were the things they said about money? So if you can remember some of the things that were said, those are all in your subconscious mind, even if you don't believe them anymore. Okay, they all could be there. So some of the things that I was taught about money, and even a lot of my clients have been taught about money, is that in order to make money, you have to hustle, right? You have to work your butt off. You have to sacrifice, right? So that was something that I was taught. And then worth was tied to how much money you made, right? So the worth of a person is tied to the money, and that still happens in my family because it's really interesting. And now I can be more of that observer, looking, stepping outside and saying, oh, okay, well, in the family, they think this person's worthy, and they let that person say what they want because they think that they make the money, right? Yes. And they'll even make comments like, so-and-so, did you know their thing is worth X amount of money? And I'm like, okay, that's great for them. That's great for them. And so then there's that worth tied to money. And then, so that may have been some of the things that you have been taught. And the other part was that the person that earns the money is, because worth is tied to it, not making the money means that you're worth less.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a really key, right? Because if you're worth less, then you kind of are in a position of being second, third, or fourth, depending on your household, right?
Yeah.
So what are the beliefs that you remember? And so the way our subconscious mind works, it takes these memories, it takes these thoughts, it puts it through our lens, and then it stays in our subconscious mind. Okay.
Yeah.
And the interesting part about all of that is that there's these studies called the witness studies. Okay. I don't remember the exact name, but I have a link to an article that I can share. It just came to me, Isabelle, so I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
And so what they did is they had a group of people in a room, right? Like in a semicircle, and they had an incident happen in front of them. Okay. So they also the exact same thing. And then they took them individually into rooms and interview them and say, what did you saw? What did you see? What happened? And they all had slightly different or very different versions depending on the person of what they saw. And it just happened. Okay. So that's a matter of minutes, let's say, till they got the interview, they were interviewed. So imagine what happens to your brain when something happens when you're 7.
Yeah.
You know, or 15, right? Like the story I shared. And so then your brain has processed things and we remember it a certain way, but it may not even have happened that way.
Exactly.
So then that even further like creates this kind of scenario of the ideas and subconscious beliefs that are just not true.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that you are asking us to take this time to really, so as Kavita is asking you these questions, you can write them down. I'm writing them in the comments as well. You can take the time to journal as Kavita is sharing. And if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and Kavita will be answering them as we go. So take this opportunity to do, like she was saying at the beginning, to do some clearing, to move up on your spiral, and to release some of these limiting, maybe painful beliefs of what you lived through in the past, to help you one step higher to connecting to much more peaceful energy and a wider space to welcome in abundance.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Isabel. Thanks. Yes. So that definitely, you know, if you want to write these things down, our brain also uses different, I can't think of the word right now. Use a different part of your brain when you actually write, right? So writing this down is going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we take our past conditioning, we've processed it in our brain, seen it through our lenses, and now we've created these beliefs. Okay. And then what our brain does is take these beliefs and look for evidence to prove that they're true. Okay. So now you have these beliefs. This is how you think the world works. This is what you think is true and you believe is true. Some of it you're conscious of, some of it, a lot of it is subconscious. Then your brain is going to look for evidence to see that it's true. So there's a term in marketing called reticular activator. Okay. So if let's say you're looking for a car, okay, you're looking for a car and you're thinking, oh, I want a red car. Okay. And so you're thinking about buying a red car. Guess what you're going to notice everywhere around you?
Red cars.
Red car. Yes. Okay. So that's how our brain works. We're looking for evidence that what we believe is true. Okay.
Yes.
So then now you have this programming, you have the lens, and then you have your brain constantly reinforcing what you believe. Okay. Exactly. And so this is for a lot of things, but when we're looking at abundance and we're looking at money and that mindset, you can see why it can be very complex, and it
Yes.
can feel so strong, and it can feel so true.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so what do you do? What do you do? How do you work with this? Okay. So we have about, the estimation is 20 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Okay. And if you think about, those thoughts are reinforcing our beliefs. So how do we work with it? We have to start shifting those thoughts, shifting that subconscious mind. The first steps in doing that is bringing into awareness what you believe. What are your beliefs? What is your experience? What are your thoughts? Okay. And so I have that, the kind of the first exercise in that. I think it's the handout worksheet. I have a master's in education. I was a teacher. So like I go back to hand out like all those terms from education. So that's why I call it that, but it's called a money story exercise. And let's see if I can show you really quick. And you can do this on your own. You don't have to do it now, right? Because I don't know, it is a little bit, you need to have some introspection time, right? So to listen to me talking and to sit and do this may not work well, but I'll read what it says, okay, on this page. It says, our money story is based on past conditioning, which we talked about how that works, right? The messages we received about how to earn money, what it means to have a lot of money, and what it means to spend it. So those are other things, right? So then that goes into, what do we think about people that have a lot of money? If you remember this recently, when the Jeff Bezos and I think it's the Tesla, Elon Musk went to space, right?
Yeah.
So what were all the jokes?
Yeah.
What were all the things that people said? And I found it fascinating to watch, right? And it fascinating how I reacted too.
Yeah.
Because at first I was very angry.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, oh, why do I have to decide how they spend their money? So I had to look into my own beliefs. So how you view people that are considered in your world rich people are important. So this exercise goes into that, right? It's starting to, like I said, bring to light what your beliefs are, because until you know what they are, it's really difficult to work with them.
Yes.
Okay. And then the abundance visualization that I have is to start to work on that subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Right. And then you take this information and start to pay attention. Pay attention to how you see people in your lives, how money is showing up, because that's a reflection of what your beliefs are. However money and abundance is showing up, that's a reflection of your beliefs. So if it's not working the way that you would like, right, then it's time to look at that. And this goes beyond the positive affirmations. I love affirmations. Those are great.
Yeah.
And you're putting those thoughts in your mind.
Yes.
And this is a deeper than that, because there's more. So
what I always share with my community whenever I have a chance to go live and chat and we talk about beliefs, some people get really scared when they think of beliefs because they think they are in stone. And I repeat often, a belief is only a thought that you have thought over and over and over, and you've glued a feeling to it. That's all a belief is. And if we were able to create it, we can create a new belief if we start thinking a new thought and think it and slowly start adding some positive emotions to it, some emotions like feeling worthy, and that's why a lot of people that make money, they do it gradually, and they're able to sustain that amount of abundance because it was gradual. Whereas you have examples of people that won all this money and poof, they lose it all.
They lose it all
because of the beliefs that weren't, like you said, the first step, bring it into awareness. I wrote it down in the comments, so write that down. Important stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. That's really important what you shared, right? It's about that step by step. right? About like, the spiral. Allow yourself to go through this in the pace that you are meant to go through it, and versus the comparison of I should be where this person is. We all have our own journey, right? And the feeling is a key part of this. And something I forgot to mention is that, how you feel is really important. So when you're saying an affirmation, like I make $1 million this year, right? How do you feel? Does it, that internal subconscious voice, is it saying BS, you make $1 million this year, right? Then that's not landing.
No.
Right. So what if you saw what you brought in this year and you added whatever felt a little past doable, okay, like past doable, and started to bring that in? How would that feel? It would feel possible, right? It's a little stretch. And then the next, and then the next, right? You don't have to do it by annum or annually. You could do it monthly, right? Just, it's the limitation of what your mind is willing to accept.
Yes. Yeah. I love that, Kavita. And I just want to add a small note. What Kavita is sharing right now, we're talking about the money mindset, your relationship to money. And we've mentioned abundance. Now, for some, abundance is health, others is family, others is well-being. So we are talking about money mindset and that particular abundance. The steps are the same. If you want to connect with more wealth or more health or more joy or more passion, it's the same thing that Kavita is sharing right here. I love this.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. It's the same steps. You look back and see what your beliefs are about that, right? If it's about health, do you believe that as you get older, you need to deteriorate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for adding that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the last part of the handout, I'm just going to use my words.
There's the perfect words.
Is I want you to, I say you take this and ceremoniously burn this story. You don't have to burn it. Please do it safely, right? You're going to write out the things that, actually, I'll show you really quick here. I think it's showing. Okay.
It is.
Yay.
Awesome.
Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay. So when you go, you'll answer these questions to help to uncover some of those beliefs, right? It's okay to spend money on this. It's not okay to spend money on this. Like, it's not okay to spend money on a spaceship, right? It's if you have very little money, it means that goes into a little bit of the self-worth, and feel free to add whatever you need to. Okay. And so once you're done with that, you can tear it. I say flush it down the toilet, throw it into the ocean, only if it's safe for the animals, right? It's the idea is that you're getting rid of this. You want this gone now. Okay. Then you're writing second part of it is to write how you want money to show up in your life. Or like you said, you can add in abundance, you can change in health, you can add in relationships, love, whatever abundance means to you. Okay. It's in many ways easier because abundance is such a broad term.
Yes.
And so you take what that means to you and break it down, because that's easier to work through, right? It's easier to work through something specific. That's why I've chosen money in the terms of abundance, because that's what a lot of people think of when they think of abundance, and work through that versus overall only all abundance, which is money, relationships, love, health, like all these things. So you're going to write out your new story of what you like, and you can use these questions or whatever questions you want to add. Just be fun, have fun with it.
Yes.
Write it out loud, and you can read that often, because we are creating new neural pathways in our brain, and that we are in a mild hypnotic state where a subconscious mind receives information right when we wake up in the morning or right before we go to bed at night. So those are good times to read this story.
And I'm going to add an extra thing for my community. So for those women that are with me in this group or in the private VIP membership, we always do full moon and new moon ceremonies. And you know, in the full moon ceremony, we are releasing, letting go, handing over to the divine, and we always burn our forgiveness list. So this can be like a forgiveness list regarding limiting beliefs around money mindset. We're still in the full moon energy, and on Thursday, 5:14 Eastern time is the new moon. So after that, in the new moon energy, you could write out new beliefs. You could pull out Kavita's sheet again, fill it out, what your intentions are in the new moon, to start building those new beliefs, to start connecting those new neural pathways.
Yes. And I want to add to that really quick, Isabel, is that the 4th is the Hindu Festival of Lights. So it's the new moon is Diwali, the Festival of Lights. And it's a lot of people celebrate abundance at that time. So it's actually the perfect time to do this.
Yes.
So.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Kavita. Is there anything else that we are missing in this wonderful teaching, or does this pretty much sum up everything that you wanted to share with us regarding this teaching?
Yes, I think this is a great place to start, right? These are the first steps. If anybody has questions, I think we'll be able to answer them after even this. And I had one. The only thing is I had one of my one subscriber actually send me a question. Okay. And her question was, how can I program myself to start living in the abundance energy with money rather than living in the stressful fear of lacking money energy? And so I believe we started answering that question of you have to uncover the beliefs, bring it to light, and then move forward with the new ones. So
yes. And I am going to put in the comments Kavita's her links where you can stay connected with her. We have her website. We have a free gift, I think, right? Kavita,
yes.
Can you walk us through these links? I've added them.
Yes. Oh yeah, I see them. Okay, so the free gift is the Abundance Now. That is the abundance visualization and exercise. Some of the questions on this worksheet and handout that we have will be on that, but it has more stuff. Okay, that you listen to the visualization and then you do the exercise. So that's the free gift, which is a great addition to what we talked about today. The second one is the leadership strategy session. It's a 30-minute call. And we talk about, it's a no obligation free call. I love connecting with women. So women, we talk about what's happening, what are some strategies, and whether working together is a good fit. Sometimes we work together, sometimes we don't. Right. That's okay, right? And then the last one's my website, my current website. I have a new website, but it's not ready yet. So I'm using this.
Kavita, I have someone on the Facebook group that is asking if it is possible to get a copy of the sheet that you shared.
Yes, yes.
Okay, would you like me to send it? I can send it in because I'm going to send an email to everybody that's on my list with a link to the replay, because this is going to stay in the group, but only for a month, whereas the replay will stay, it'll just stay. And I can put in that email, I can put a link for them to download the sheet. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's great. Yes.
Okay, so Catherine, I'm going to do that. So you just look for that email when I send it out. And if you're not yet on my email list, I will add it in the comments on the group. In the group, I'll add it in the comments afterwards, and you can just hop on there and you'll have access to it. But Catherine, I know you're already on my list, so you'll have it automatically.
And if anybody needs it, right, they can reach out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to share it with
Yeah.
whoever wants to work through this. The more aligned and soulful women, that's why I named my business that after, that have money in abundance in their lives, the more change we can make in the world. So it's, I'm so happy for people to do this and work through this.
Yeah. And anyone who rises up on that spiral. And the only person I know that talks about a spiral like that is Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
And we had talked about that on your podcast. So when you mentioned that, I was like, yay, I love that. So anyone that actually goes up on the spiral, that is feeling more aligned, that's feeling better, that's feeling more spacious and connected to abundance and money, that is a plus for every single woman out there. Absolutely.
We rise and hold each other up.
Yes, awesome. Kavita, any final thoughts before we step off our...
I'm just so happy. Thank you for having me on this. I'm so excited to be able to share this with as many people as that, is ready, that are ready to receive and in the right place. And I don't know, I think, were there any questions? I want to make sure I answer whatever I can right now.
I'm looking on, Vanessa says, thank you, Kavita and Isabelle. This is wonderful.
Oh, great. I'm glad they enjoyed.
Vanessa says, thank you for the gifts. Let me just make sure I did not miss any questions. No, that seems okay. And let me just look here. Now, if before we get off the call, if you are on Zoom with us, you can go ahead and just copy, highlight it, copy, paste all that was shared in the chat and just copy it to anything. So if you're watching on your phone, you can go into, what is it called? It's called Notes, and you can paste it there. You'll have access to all of Kavita's links. Or if you're on your computer, you can open it on Word and just paste it there. And you can definitely reach out. Kavita's in our group. So if you have a question for her, you can tag her, or you can tag me, or you can tag both of us if we didn't get to your question. But Kavita, I think that is,
that's it. Yeah. If there's no questions, for now, my sense is as people work through this, there may be some things that come up.
Yes.
Right? Take this and exercise and work through it. Then I'd love to answer any questions.
Absolutely. Catherine says, thank you both for sharing your wisdom. You're very welcome. And thank you so much, Kavita. What a pleasure to have you on the holistic guidance. And Miriam says, thank you, Kavita. It's really enlightening.
Yes.
I love that word, enlightening, right? Bringing in more light, more comfort with the idea of money, abundance. All right, beautiful goddesses. So for those that are watching live on the Facebook group, thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to just stop the live stream. So we'll see you soon. All right. So the live stream has stopped. I am going to stop the recording